tip.
Good afternoon. It is March 4th, 2025. You're listening to A Little Column A, A Little Column B, hosted by Will Alimonos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy?
What is going on, Will? It is here. We are in March. It's all happening. We're having senior nights. We are having actual tournaments. There are conference tournaments that have started already. The A-Sun has started. The rest of this week, there are going to be a lot of mid-major conferences that are starting. I like the way that the mid-majors start early. There are a handful of conferences this year that have really shaken up how they do their conference tournaments. Rather than it being, I'm going to call it the more traditional bracket of it's equal on equal sides, they're doing it so if you are one of the top seeds, you pretty much automatically go to the semifinals, and then if you are anywhere else, it's just these very long brackets. With the idea being that, hey, if you are really good all year, you don't have to play the same number of games as these other teams that didn't play so well. And I think the hope is that it will get better teams to the tournament. There's going to be a little less variance. Have you seen any of these longer brackets? You got any thoughts there?
These are the bid stealers. This is what went wrong last year, where if you were a fringe team, if you were on the bubble, and you were like, all right, well, as long as nothing crazy happens in these whatever tournaments here, I might have a chance of getting in. If you're Arkansas, I don't know what, Carolina, what other bubble teams are there? You are keeping an eye out on these wacky little tournaments here, hoping that the ones that are expected to win, such as Drake, just continue on and win, and that the outlier like NC State last year doesn't happen. So you got a little responsibility of Duke into all of this as well here. Are you favoring any bid stealers right now? Does anyone stand out? Because I don't really know a whole lot about all of these tournaments.
I really think that it's going to have more to do with the conference, the big conferences that are the ones that steal it, because whoever wins in these smaller conferences, a lot of them, I mean, the majority of them, it's one and done. So if you don't get your act together, there's no, hey, you had a really good season. It's sorry. And especially now, if you only needed to win 2 games, you couldn't win 2 games, you didn't earn it.
Yeah, no,
but we definitely got some teams on the bubble, and I think it's gonna, like I said, I think it's gonna have to do more next week when the conferences championship starts, where, like you mentioned, like Arkansas, like are they in? Are they out? And then it's like, how many games do they have to win to make a difference?
Yeah, how many SEC teams do we need? Have we hit the requirement yet? Is there a number we have to? It's so many. It's too many. It's not the division or the conference I want to talk about first. I want to talk about the Big Ten. It was a big week once again. All right, Michigan State podcast here. Should we do a round of applause? Is it too soon?
How fun was that? How excited were you?
Which part?
Legit,
all of it.
Full court buzzer beater.
That part's insane. The fact that we have gotten through this, what I thought was a pretty hairy schedule a couple weeks ago, and that we are getting through it clean. I'm terrified now because it feels like without a doubt, are we not the favorite to win this tournament in the Big Ten right now? I don't know if I like that pressure, and I don't know if I entirely believe that. But after the last couple of games, we've taken care of business, and some of the teams we've beat have had struggles with other teams here. Illinois is making some noise as well. But I mean, how do we feel about Michigan State being a potential favorite in the Big Ten now?
You're in the driver's seat. You're going to be favored at Iowa on Thursday. You'll be favored at home against Michigan on Sunday. You have a game lead ahead, so even if you trip up on one of these, but just been on an absolute tear, just like across the board. Whatever you need to get it done. You know, guy on Maryland just shoots way too early, tie game, and it was so deep. It was such a deep half court shot for the win on the road as well. And the funniest part too is you are objectively a terrible 3-point shooting team. Like, I can't remember if it was that game or the game before. It was like in the first half, there was like a total of 2 3-pointers made by both teams. And like that, I think that might have increased your threes made by 25%. And just when it needed to be done the most, I've heard some jokes saying how Izzo is getting this second life because this was how basketball was played in the early 2000s. Then it went away, and there's been other styles that have become to be more popular. But now this is the Zag. now he's zagging and now it's working for him. But no, I would say for sure you are the favorite in the Big Ten right now. That tournament is going to be that one's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm seeing, the composite bracket matrix, it's putting you at a 2 seed. I mean, it was only a couple of weeks ago we did the top 4 seeds, and I didn't have you in the top 16. And looking back, it was right after you had won 2 games in 5 games. Specifically, you'd lost at home to Indiana, and I just couldn't get past that. But since then, it's Illinois, Purdue, Michigan, Maryland, Wisconsin. It's like it's gotten a little bit harder every time, and you keep rising to the challenge.
Every one of those teams we went in, like Michigan was the hottest team when we played them. Maryland was the hottest team when we played them. Purdue was supposed to be the best team when we played them. So it now you look at it and they're kind of a little re-ranked, and you're looking at like that Illinois win a little differently. But then this week Illinois beats Purdue, and I ask you, like, who's in a harder position right now? Is it Purdue or Michigan? Where Purdue's got to play like a pretty decent schedule going forward. They're going to be at Illinois. Michigan's going to be at Michigan State. Like they might get another loss here, is what I'm saying. One of these teams.
I think you got to be careful with Michigan when you are looking at your bracket. I think that Michigan, and I think it's earned because they've won these games, but it's going to be a higher seed than what like the gambling experts are going to predict. If you take a look, it was crazy. Like it was before the Illinois game this weekend where they got killed, but in the wins, like all of their wins are all by single digits or by single possessions, and then their losses are double digits. So you could take it as, hey, they know how to win in tight spaces, but I'm thinking this might just be one of those situations of these are 50-50 games, and at some point that 50-50 luck runs out. So I'm just giving a warning out. That's a stat. Go look at the point differential. It's like, wait, it was something like they were 9-3 with a point differential of -12. Like, how is that even possible?
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be possible. I'll tell you this: they're going to need it more than us. We've earned a whole lot of we've earned a loss basically with the last couple of wins. So like I'm not going to worry about it. I'm a little worried about being the favorite in the Big Ten here, and I'm a little worried about being a 2 seed because I look at all the teams that we were playing against, and I think they're good teams. But which one of them doesn't play exactly like us? It's all bad shooting teams that are super tough on defense, and just a lot of that facing more of that. If we start facing any other teams with offense, which at a 2 seed, who knows? We might face like a frisky team that's actually like a really hot 3-point shooting team. We could be in a ton of trouble, as well as everybody in this division could be in trouble.
I don't all the way believe that. I think some of that is just historical, where some of the older coaches, and when you hear Wisconsin, you're thinking of these Wisconsin teams of old that are really grinded out. But looking on KenPom right now, they take close to 50% of their attempts from three, and they make them at a 35% clip. So I think, and I was kind of cherry picking here a little bit, but I don't think it's nearly as ground and pound as it has been in the past. There's for sure some real rock fights in there, but I don't think that you should be so concerned about some of these other conferences.
Should we be worried about Purdue? They're going to play Rutgers tonight too. That's not an easy out. There's 2 draft picks on the team. I don't care how many losses that team has. There's still something like you got to show up for when you play them. And then they're going to play Illinois.
I think it's going to be interesting to find out if Rutgers, if they want to win. I mean, obviously, they just don't have a good enough team. It's been shown all year, but they're getting close to. They're going to be at the very edge of making it into the Big Ten tournament, where not everyone gets in anymore because these conferences got so large. But even if they get in, I'm pretty sure this is going to be one of those. It's a Wednesday, and it's noon. It's like, wait a minute, it's a work day. Why are 2 future top 3 picks playing on a Wednesday? How did this happen?
Yeah, I still don't understand how it happened. I don't understand how their draft stock hasn't altered at all either. This is how all of this is amounted to nobody feeling differently at all.
I mean, I've watched the games. Those guys look good. It's just the rest. There's just nothing there.
It just seems crazy to me that this is such a top heavy team that's like, yeah, we only have 2 guys. We just couldn't find 3 others. These guys are really good though. And if they just had above average other 3 guys, we might have something here. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know other way to explain it. It doesn't make sense. All right, enough Big Ten. Anything else you got here?
Nope, that's good.
Let's move on to the SEC, which is the other chaos of conference, which just back and forth every week. Good luck picking your favorite here. Kentucky just seems to be in nonstop trouble, and it's because they're in the SEC. I think if this team is somewhere else, we're looking at this team completely different. I don't really have sympathy for them, but I do think that they're in a ton of trouble. But let's talk about teams that I suppose have a little bit better of a chance, and Bama's going to get another chance. And I ask you, does it even matter? I got a chance against Auburn one more time, one more try on Saturday. One more. Is they going to do it? Like, is this going to change any opinion of all this?
I mean, Auburn's locked in. They could get destroyed in this week. They've shown enough all year. It was interesting going against Kentucky. Broom, I think, only had one field goal made in the first half, and still the team was just absolutely rolling. He played better in the second half. Unfortunate for Kentucky, they've been struggling with injuries all year. Earlier this week came out that Jackson Robinson, who had hurt his wrist, turns out he's going to be done for the year. He had tried to come back. I think it was maybe a week and a half ago, and just wasn't there. Yeah, Kentucky's definitely gotten bit by the injury bug a little bit this year. But I mean, Auburn hadn't won at Rupp since I think 1988. And did you watch the second half?
Yeah, I mean, Auburn's really good.
No, you didn't watch the second half because nobody watched the second half because it was the blue screen of death. They put the hockey game on.
I would rewatch it though. I didn't watch it live, so it worked then.
Yeah, it was very bizarre, not communicated well. I was in a unique situation that I was at a sports bar and I requested, "Hey, could you put the Kentucky Auburn game on?" It wasn't a very busy place, and that seemed like a very reasonable request of this is SEC basketball. Like, why was this not on already? And the bartender, she's trying to help me. And she's like, "What channel are you talking?" It's like, this is ABC. Like, this is this is not even cable. Like, this is network. Everybody has this, and yeah, there's a hockey game. It's like, no, it's not this. And then, yeah, I try to pull it up on my phone, and sure enough, nope, it was not available anywhere. I heard that Auburn was doing a little extra celebrating afterwards, but it's going to be interesting going into this SEC tournament because, like I said, Auburn could get killed, but some of these other teams I think could move up a seed or two, and I'll be interested to see. Even though Auburn, I think is the best, if you let your guard down a little bit, these other teams they'll come get you.
Yeah. So if Bama wins, it does nothing for you. If they lose, are we suddenly piling on though?
Just losing in the tournament, like if they were to lose to Auburn,
I'm just saying they got one more shot. They're going to play Auburn on Saturday. Does this mean anything? This can't move the needle for you at all. Like if they lose this, it's like, all right, well then Tennessee's Florida's ahead of them, whatever. But if they win, are we suddenly saying no, these guys, they're the fourth?
No,
one.
I could see them if they beat Auburn and then play well in the tournament. I could see them. I think they still have a chance at a 1 seed.
Of course, they've got Florida on Wednesday. They should probably worry about that first. It's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Yeah,
in all of this.
Yeah, they still have a lot of great opportunities to continue to move up of teams that are ahead of them.
Yeah, I saw Missouri got bit by the Vanderbilt trap over there. Just can't get out of there. None of that team, a sneaky team over there. Anything specific you want to get to in the SEC?
I just they've been talked about all year, and this is not the first year. I mean, this is going to be when I think like getting the most teams in, but it's going to be interesting because it seems like the past few years it's been coming into the tournament. SEC is the best, and then all of a sudden the second week rolls around and there's just not a lot of SEC teams, or maybe a couple years ago there also no SEC teams yet. Do you think that they break through this year?
I think there are better SEC teams this year than those years of the past. I think that it's always been a tough division, and I think it's always been just a tough rivalry where there's no easy games, and that's kind of the way it should be. But this year, I know it's not no easy games, but I also think there's just some really good talented teams that have a little bit more diversity than you think too. They're all offensively efficient, but it's not like the same way. Like Auburn definitely does it the cleanest. Alabama might do it the most recklessly compared to Kentucky as well, but there's something very effective with that, and it's a wild card that I don't think like Michigan State in the Big Ten doesn't have that. There's a ton of wild cards in this thing. So wild cards, like you said, not the safest bet in March, but one of them's going to get through, I imagine, this year. I'd be shocked if that storyline continues this year, where it's no SEC teams going on farther. I'd be really shocked if Auburn isn't at least a Final Four.
Just the numbers alone.
Yeah, they're going to have the best odds.
When you put this many teams in, and you look at whatever ranking you want to look at. You look at the AP poll, whatever you want. It's not just, oh, well, they're sneaking in some bubble teams. No, they're like easily could have three 1 seeds, which is just absurd.
Yeah, and then the crazy part is you wouldn't even agree on which three. Like there's arguments for more than just those three. Insane.
And now, last year, this is this cherry picking a little bit. But do you remember what happened to Auburn?
No, why are we bringing up last year? They were talking about this year.
Okay, all right, fine. All right, pencil them in Final Four.
I did pencil them in. I just, what does last year's have to do with this year? This is a completely different team. We're almost done with this season. Why would we bring up last season? It's old data.
Just pointing out that the SEC was really good last year.
Oh,
and
what
then
team
all of a
was
sudden,
Cooper Flag on last year? Like, what are we talking about here? This is like, there's different players. There's no freshmen that haven't altered this whole landscape to read in a stat from last year.
Broome was on the team last year.
Yeah, but it wasn't playing against the same guys they're playing against this year. It's a different. I think the whole field is better. I don't want to hear anything about last year.
Okay.
Anything
some
else?
People are saying the SEC is overrated. It's not me, but some people are saying it.
Wow. I mean, we're not going to talk about the ACC. Sorry, you're on some bye weeks here, and we got to talk SEC, which actually has some topics of conversation here.
I love the Alabama schedule this week.
It's
like
wild.
You end the year against Florida at home, and then at Auburn on Saturday to end the year. Like that is so tough. And last Saturday they had to play at Tennessee. That's their last 3 games.
That's SEC, and that's why they're getting this many teams in there. Is that it's like that? It's crazy. They've basically been playing a tournament the whole year, where it's like every game. God damn, we're facing that team. Yeah, that's what it's like, and they have to win all of them, and they all feel that way, and they all kind of have been.
Next week's gonna be much must watch.
Yeah. Do you got a favorite for this tournament? Got to be Auburn,
Florida.
Right? Oh, all right.
Go Florida. Like I said, I think Auburn's set. I think that some of these other teams, I think Auburn's just gonna they're gonna let off the gas a little bit, and I think Bruce Pearl, he's been around for a while, and I think some of these coaches they know what the end goal is, and that's a national championship, and that it might even be on purpose. Of hey, let's get the loss out of the way now. Let's get refocused, get some rest, and be ready for 2 weeks.
I think if it wasn't going to be Auburn for me, I'd still go Tennessee. But I'm more of just staying on that bandwagon because I argued that whatever weeks ago, and it's close. Like, it's not like I don't think Florida can do it or Alabama can do it. Just picking a team that might value defense just a little bit more.
True.
No,
that's fair.
Less possessions, offense isn't as reckless. It starts to dial down. You don't have as many turnovers over there, and you got to force your own. It's a different game once it slows down, and maybe this will be a little bit better for tournament style for Tennessee here. All right, let's move on to the Big 12. I don't really have a ton of storylines here, other than Houston continues to dominate, and I don't really want to pile on to the Kansas hate because that has turned even more sour to me, who's been ragging on Kansas for so long. That's not such a fun story. Iowa State continues to get some work, although they didn't have the happiest of weeks. But what do you like from the Big 12 here?
Houston again, wins the Big 12 back to back in their the first 2 years, is switching over to the conference, and I think that I know you don't want to talk about last year or previous years, but just in general, they have the same coach, and if you go back and you look, they have had injuries to major players. And so I think that if you are looking at it saying, oh, this Houston team chokes, I don't know if this coach, has it, I think that you would be mistaken. And that I think that Sampson, I think he's a good coach. I think he's been around for a while. And that I wouldn't just write them off because they've had problems in the past. If you look, like, main starters, like leaders of the team, getting hurt right before the tournament.
My only argument for them is I don't really love a lot of the other teams here. I don't love Iowa State a whole lot. I definitely don't love Kansas. Texas Tech is fine. I might even like them more, but Houston's good. They're good. They get the job done, and your opinion of those teams mattered in reflecting how you feel about them. But they haven't given me anything to like chip away at. Of like, yeah, no, here's what their flaw is, or this is what they don't do well. They've won. They continue to win. So it's a hard argument to go against them. But I
mean, I guess you could make the argument that the style of play that they have. We were just talking more about the SEC, and you kind of mentioned where Auburn's just really efficient. Alabama, you mentioned as being reckless, where Houston's closer to, like those prime Virginia teams of we are going to try to make this as low a possession game as possible and just kind of squeeze the life out of you.
It works great when you have a lead. If you lose the lead, like we've seen Virginia lose in the past, that one seed, that's one of the flaws of playing slow. Is if you fall down and you run out of time, guess what? You don't have enough time to do. Run the offense the way you normally do and come back. You do one or the other. Change it or lose.
You run out of time.
Doesn't work here. I think Texas Tech might be a bigger threat than Iowa State, though. And I'd just be more just trying to pile on Iowa State for this entire year. But does that seem that far fetched?
No, I don't think it's that far fetched. I think I thought differently, a couple of weeks ago. But you just mentioned how Iowa State 2 losses out of 3. Beat Arizona. Arizona's kind of been all over the place. But I think Houston's just been up at the top.
All right, let's move on to the Big East, of which this is pretty much just the St. John's Johnnies who continue to climb up. They are 6th now in the country. I wish I had more arguments against them, but once again, they just continue to clean up the slate that they have in front of them. So what are we supposed to do? I know we got a big game coming up this week against Marquette, but the Johnnies are real. Like, I mean, we're a 6th seed now. We barely had them in 2 weeks ago.
It's impressive. We spoke about it, how it's very similar to Michigan State, where it's just they're locking up on defense. They don't shoot particularly well. It's almost more of, well, we know we don't make a lot of our shots, so every time the ball goes up, everybody's got a rebound, and just berating teams that way. Very impressive. St. John's hasn't won a conference title in 30 something years. This is Rick Pitino's 5th team that he's won a conference title with. I believe it's also 5 different conferences, and he might have even with Louisville. It might have been partially in the Big East, and then, it was the Big East, and then partially in the ACC. So I guess there's some overlap there, but very impressive. I mean, it really was not that long ago. You're talking not that far before COVID that if you brought up Rick Pitino and said, "Hey, you think he'll ever coach in college again?" It would be absolutely not. Not even people that didn't like Rick Pitino. Just like, there's no way. He's older. The whole way the Louisville situation went down, just no way. He's over in Greece. He's not coming back. And now he's back. And it's taken him 2 years at a major program to be right in the mix. And if you remember correctly, again, I know you don't like it.
No, that's fine.
They were right on the bubble last year. They took UConn right to the brink in the tournament, and I think a win there puts them in. And even with that loss, they were one of the teams. The argument afterwards that they got snubbed.
They had a cute season last year. They're a threat this year. This is a real program.
Agreed.
This is a team that if you like, you don't want to lay your guard down at all against this team. They're going to jump all over you. They're going to show up ready. They may not be the most offensively efficient, but they find a way to get it done. And they're also playing in a lot of tight games too. I like that, and I like their opportunities at the end of the game. I know we got some games to look forward to this week. Do you want to just start with St. John's Marquette?
Sure. We can start with that.
Let's do picks on these games. So what do we got? Saturday noon, 6 St. John's.
Saturday noon. Yeah, that's St. John's at Marquette. I'm gonna go with Marquette.
Do they need this more? Like, is this more of a desperation thing? Like, where the Johnnies are like, what do we need? What do we gain from this?
I think it's just more Marquette being at home. I don't think Marquette's some sort of pushover. I don't think that they're that much farther behind St. John's ability wise.
I think it's actually a big gap, so I'll take St. John's. I like Marquette too. I just think St. John's is actually Marquette's not a competitor. St. John's is a competitor. I might eat these words later. What other games we got to look forward to this week? We are completely out of order. You can rearrange these if you need to.
All right, cool. So tomorrow we have a handful of games. Big Wednesday. So I'll list them off, and then you pick who you want to win. Maryland at Michigan, 6:30.
Maryland.
I'm gonna go Maryland. 7:00. Florida at Alabama.
Florida.
Alabama. Missouri at Oklahoma at 8 o'clock.
And Missouri, they just got trapped by Vanderbilt. They'll be fine this week. I'll take Missouri.
I'll go Missouri as well. 9 o'clock. Tennessee at Ole Miss.
I like Tennessee. But this is
I'm
another
going Ole
one right there
Miss.
where you're going to hit me next podcast where you're like, wow, they blew it here. This is Tennessee. They do this all the time. So this is one where if they want to be the team that I think they are, they should take care of business here. But it's certainly a vulnerability. All right, what else?
Friday. Purdue at Illinois.
I mean, what have you done for me lately? Why would you pick against Illinois at this point, based on what you've seen this past week? Like, as well as they've been a frisky in and out top 25 team all year. I like Illinois. I think they're the hot team right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Illinois as well. I think that helps makes the Duke win look even better.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, here I'll put the applause on for you. Yeah,
going into Saturday, Kentucky at Missouri, also at noon.
oh, man, it's just Kentucky. It's just not this year. I think it's Missouri.
I'm gonna go Missouri. Arizona at Kansas, 4:30.
Oh man, could they both lose? Like Arizona.
I'm gonna go Arizona too. I don't like the stuff that Self is saying. It seems like he's already given up. Where I know they've had their troubles this year, but it just seems like this is the time not to just say, "Oh well, we just didn't really have it." It's like, all right, no, we're figuring some stuff out, and I think if things break the right way, we could do something. And I don't know, it's just weird.
All right, since we're on it, let's talk about this. You could bring up last year. What happened last year? Because last year's Self was different or the exact same. Like we felt weird about it then too.
He gave up like way early last year's team had more struggles, and just weird comments from just maybe it's not weird because we've seen more of the older coaches are going away. You have Izzo and Patino that are saying, "Hey, we're just going to figure this out, and we're maybe not going to do it the most traditional modern way, but we're going to do it our way." Where we've had a lot of other coaches, this year or even just like in the past few years, specifically in the ACC, say, "Nope, nope, I'm done. I had my run. I don't want to do this NIL stuff. It's too hard."
Is that what we're getting with Kansas? Because I think this is turning into a bit of a Calipari situation where, I mean, I don't want to bring up the nonsense of the fan base not being super pleased with him and some of the players, but is it time to rethink this? I think this is like Calipari, though, where this is going to start boiling, and eventually he's either going to leave or they're going to get rid of him. And I don't think that's the right move here. I still think you're better off with Bill Self. I mean, who's the other coach out there you think you're better off with? There's not another Mark Pope just walking in.
No. But yeah, they really stumbled on the way out last year and kind of seems like they kind of let go of the rope. And I don't know. Like, I don't like what's coming out of there for this year. And I think that they're not I don't see them ending the year like they ended last year's, but maybe I'm wrong.
So do you think the fan base is going to be outraged enough to get Self fired then is really the question?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I hope it doesn't happen.
He's got a national championship like a few years ago. You can be delusional and want to get rid of him, but I think that would be crazy.
I do think it's fair to say they have to rethink whatever they've done the last 2 years because it didn't work. Whatever you thought you were bringing in wasn't good enough, and whatever
something's not working.
Yeah, we gotta rethink something. Whether it's the style of play or the way you recruit or the guys you're recruiting, it might just be he's going after the wrong guys. It's still Kansas. He could. I'm not saying he's got the pick of the bunch, but he's got a pretty good case.
Pretty close. Yeah.
So what else are we looking forward to this week?
And then just to round out the weekend, Duke at UNC, 6:30, prime time.
You're gonna go with Duke?
I will be going with Duke. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Duke too. I want to hate on this as much as possible, but there's just this isn't the team to pick against. This is not NC State of last year. This isn't a frisky Carolina team at all.
You're never sure. You're never really sure what's going to happen. I'm not taking it lightly.
I'll tell you what. I'm not saying you need to take it lightly. The first iteration
was a lot of fun.
But if you did lose, this would be one of the most shocking outcomes of the whole year. Duke's really good. This team's not. Like, this would be the first time they played like a real team the whole year if Carolina wins this, is really what I'm saying. So I would say it's such an outlier. Like, they haven't played well this whole year. If they suddenly show up for this one game, I don't think it's...
If they're going to show up to one, this would be the one. They are on a 5-game win streak right now.
Oh.
Got Virginia Tech tonight.
You know, isn't everyone on a win streak in the ACC? It's that bad, or is everyone on a losing streak?
Well, that's not how it
Is
works.
that
You know
not-
how this works. One team has to win and
No,
one team has to lose
that's
every
right.
night.
That's right. Let me remind everyone about the college March Madness bracket signups here. It's open. The bracket is open. We're doing it again. We're giving away a $150 Amazon gift card. We're doing the podcast T-shirt. Sign up will be in this podcast description. It's March Madness picks. Picks don't start till what is it? Like noon, March 20th. I'll say brackets close.
That's the deadline. So you want to get it in before that.
So get it in before then. It's already open. It'll be posted below in the description here. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast while you're there. Little of column A, little of column B. You can follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
All right. Anything else for college basketball? It is March.
It is March. Like I said, if you we're getting, you just need some brackets this week. This week it'll start. So just look online. We mentioned more of the big names, but sometimes it's more fun to watch these smaller conferences where it's win or your season is over and your career could very much be over as well.
It'll just be nice to have some competitive games that continue on because I can't say the schedule's my favorite this week outside of those tournament games. All right, let's move on to the NBA, of which we get to talk about the Celtics and the Cavaliers and Denver and all sorts of good teams. This is getting closer. It's March here. We had a very serious game between the Celtics and Cavaliers. It was not a very fun outcome. There was no Drew Holiday. There was no Porzingis. And it was a dominated Mitchell game is really the way I'm looking at it. I don't think the Cavaliers really fear us at all, nor should they. The DeAndre Hunter thing seems to be working out pretty well. Ty Jerome, I mean, we just mocked Virginia earlier on the podcast here, and now he's redeeming all of that.
National champion Ty Jerome.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. That is how Mobley Allen seems to be working out just fine. It seemed like last year they didn't really have a good combination of all this. There's also been seasons where Cleveland has looked very good in the regular season, and then the second the playoffs start, and there's things you just can't unsee. Are we unseen enough? Like, is this a clean slate? This is a team that I think is a real threat here, and I'm not saying I'm picking them over the Celtics, but I like a lot of things about them. Like, this is a good team. This is a team that has the components and the players, and they're doing it. It's working. I'll ask you, the Celtics over here. Is there any chance that we could lose to the Cavaliers?
I'm looking at it, and we're not catching them. They had one bumpy stretch where we've had multiple, more bumpy stretches for a team of our caliber. But look at it right now. 10 game win streak. 50-10 in their first 60. I just saw a stat earlier that had all of the best starts with the cutoff being 50-10 in the first 60, and half of those teams won the championship. So you're in a good situation there. We have beat the Cavs this year, and I still feel confident the Celtics can get the job done. Like you mentioned, we were missing 2 starters, but I think you have to take them seriously. I think it's for real. I think that if we don't come with our A game, we'll get tripped up.
I still think we can win. It's not like I think they're unbeatable either. I still think we're very capable of beating them. I think they're suddenly capable of beating us, and I don't know if I felt that way last year. I don't know if I felt that way about
Donovan Mitchell just plays just so well against us.
He's not scared of us.
I'm not putting it at Middleton level just yet, but I mean, he's better than Middleton, so you don't just have to have that. Like, how is he scoring this much points against us? It's just, no, this is what he normally does, and he could just take it to the next level, which would be higher than Middleton, even at Celtics killer level, which they always seem to be at.
Yeah, I don't know how to solve that part. Do you want to know the weird thing about the Celtics? We are better on the road this year than we are at home. Well, we're also the best team.
Wasn't that the case last year?
Well, maybe. I think in the playoffs it was. I don't know if
in the
regular
playoffs.
season.
No, during the season we were really good. That's right. And it was in the playoffs we had a little weird situation there.
This regular season, we're the best team on the road. We have the most road wins.
So that's good.
I suppose
especially if we're going to have to go play on the road in multiple series if we continue to go.
You said it. We're not catching them. It's gone. So like that's what we're doing here now. We're going to be a 2 seed, and that's fine. We got to get healthy. We got to get these guys back. Drew seems to have a pretty serious hammer finger injury where the end tip of his finger is just completely smashed.
He's just been out.
That seems like a problem.
A whole bunch.
Can he just come in and play defense, though? Is there any chance he could have slowed down like 5 more points for Mitchell? Because that would have been the difference.
I think he'll be ready for the playoffs. I think that's part of this is that being extra careful with him, being extra careful with Porzingis. We know what we need in the playoffs, and I think this is just it's not nothing, but it's more just taking it easy, not trying to push him. Like we just said, we're not gonna get we're not gonna get him to the 1 seed. We got a little bit of a lead over the Knicks, but I feel like we can kind of hold them off, no problem. So I don't think there's any reason to try to bring guys back quicker from injuries.
Yeah. The other thing is, I'm not going to suddenly act like Cleveland doesn't have some injury prone players here, too. Every one of these lineups can also be altered. And sure, they have some good depth with, Wade and Ty Jerome stretching some stuff. But Mobley and Allen, not the safest bet. DeAndre Hunter, not the safest bet. So, sure, this all looks great when everybody's here now. It sure looks great when the Celtics are all together, too. Like this Giannis thing in the last couple of playoffs is ignored. Like Milwaukee's been terrible the whole regular season. It's like he gets hurt in the first round and suddenly we forget everything. This could happen to all of these teams, and we'll all be injury dependent. So this whole if Porzingis is healthy, it's like
Well,
isn't every team doing that?
Well, part of it too is we're mentioning Ty Jerome, and you and I know Ty Jerome because we're into college basketball. But I don't think NBA fans are really mentioning Ty Jerome, until very recently. So it's cool to have a guy that gets hot for a little while, but I mean, I think somebody like Pritchard has shown it that it lasts a little bit longer. But if we're relying on Pritchard to be one of our best guys, we're in trouble. And if I think they're going to rely on Ty Jerome to be playing at this top level, I think that they're going to be in trouble if they think he could do this all the time.
Pritchard's been amazing all year. That was his worst game of the year. Was the Cleveland game. He was like a minus 38, and I hate the plus minus, but it visually looked that way too. Where it was like, I don't know, there wasn't any juice. Like, just give me the right energy, and it feels like we weren't able to find it or get him in the right spots, and it just seemed to waste. There's also not a lot of minutes shared for him either. So I don't know if that was a move either. Like, should he play more or should he play less? I don't know.
I think some of it too that was disappointing was in no lead, especially a big lead in the NBA is safe. But you jump up on a team, what was it, 25-3?
Yeah.
It's just okay, yeah, we got him, yeah, and then to not be able to capitalize on that sort of a jump out at home, it just I think it makes the loss worse than if it had been just more of a normal close game at the beginning.
But is that not who the Celtics are though? Like, how many years have we get into this up and down? Can't win with a lead. Blah blah blah. Like, this is every year, so this isn't new. I'm used to it.
We didn't do it last year.
I don't think we played anyone.
I think we got up on teams last year, and we didn't give up the lead. And I think we also rarely fell down by more than double digits.
I don't think we played anyone as good as Cleveland last year.
That might be true. I think in the past there's been other issues, but I think last year we were starting to put that behind us.
All right, let's talk some bad news. You want to talk the worst news or the increased? I don't know. This is both like two sinking ships here between Dallas and Philly. Embiid's going to be out. That's not entirely news. I guess the new news is that they're going to have to break his hip to fix whatever injury he's got going on now. And
none of the options seemed good.
So he's out, and we don't know when
I
he's
heard
going to be back.
microfracture surgery. I didn't even know that still existed anymore. Yeah, that was last week mentioned how it isn't even fun to make fun of him anymore on just how terribly it's going and how they just can't figure out what the solution is. But now on top of this, he is for sure done for the year, and that there doesn't seem to be necessarily he's going to do this, he'll be ready for next year. Just not good.
They want to break his hip to do the surgery and then put it back together. Look, I know that sounds like crazy. Maybe that's just a normal procedure. Like, that always happens. But just in my mind, it's like, wait a minute. How serious? We can't do this any other way. We got to break this guy's hip. You think this guy's going to recover from a hip injury? He's going to be 1,000 pounds by the time he recovers from this. There's no way.
Well, and then you also have Maxey. He goes down. He's not going to play against the Timberwolves. And so I don't know how much of that is he really hurt himself versus, hey, we need to make sure that we hold on to this pick, because that's the other little wrinkle in this. I got Tankathon up. I think we should continue to mention this. They're at the 7 seed right now. Their pick is top 6 protected. So if they stayed right where they were right now, not only do they have this very horrible year, not know if their former MVP is going to come back at any point, but also they would give their pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Don't worry, Embiid's under contract for a long time. It's the longest you could have possibly made it. It's great. Good job.
The Thunder, the team that is the number one seed in the West. Not like, oh, they're doing pretty well. They're the best team in the West by double digit games.
Oh man, I don't even want to imagine one of the Rutgers guys just getting picked up by OKC. Just like, oh, thanks, Philly. You dumpster fire. What are you doing to us? This isn't what we needed. This is what they set up though. They've trapped like 15 other teams in this situation where there's gonna be, if things go wrong, it's like, oh well, we'll just get OKC pick. Like
Do,
this is gonna happen more
do you
often.
want to be real? Do you want to be really scared?
I already no. These are awful. This isn't even the worst news of the NBA. We haven't even talked Dallas. Like this is light work compared to the shit they're going through. Yeah. Well, what else is gonna scare me?
You talk about the Rutgers guys at 7. There's an 8.2% chance that they're picking up Cooper Flag.
Oh well, I'm sure he would fit nicely there, wouldn't he? I don't want him to go there, even though I don't want him to go to some of these other disastrous places. I don't want him to go to Philly either. That sounds awful. Yeah, no, it's scary. It's a possibility. This is why they've got this war chest of picks, and it sounds silly, but they're little wins like this that just pressure a whole bunch of other teams into doing things that they might not want to do or even be capable of doing. Like, is Philly even capable of getting out of this?
I mean, if Maxi's hurt, then I mean, this is like they already lost their bright spot in McCain earlier this year.
Yeah, which was a
Paul
home run
George has
too.
looked a tiny bit better recently, but I'm not gonna take a victory lap on that just yet. If I was them,
No, no. I mean, all right. This is just sad. I don't want to do this anymore. Let's talk about the actual team that should be sad and mad and actually frustrated. Philly did a lot of this to themselves, and I'm sure Dallas did too, but it's a different way. Kyrie Irving tore his ACL. It's we've I don't know. Every time I think we've hit bottom, it's just we find a new low, and this is a new low.
Can I read off the list for you?
Oh yeah, all right. This is sad, but just go ahead.
This is this year. This is from Bleacher Report, and then I'm going to add some of my own. January 14th, Derek Lively II suffers an ankle stress fracture. February 1st, Mavs trade Luka. The 8th, Anthony Davis strains his abductor in his first game. The 10th, Daniel Gafford sprains his MCL. And then yesterday, we have Kyrie tearing his ACL. On top of that, was it yesterday or the day before, the Mavs announced that they're going to increase their season tickets by an average of 8 point something percent. I don't know why that news is out. I feel like just how the economy works, like stuff gets more expensive. 8% in 1 year seems like a higher jump, but I've never heard this for any other team. And so how this is front news, as well as we just mentioned the AD trade or the Luka trade over a month ago now. In the past week, I am still hearing leaks, or it's not even leaks exactly, just news coming out of out of Dallas about stuff that they were concerned about with Luka, where it's like, this was over a month ago. If you're so mad about it, or you're so like people are upset about this trade, we gotta come up with a good reason for it. And no, he doesn't take training real seriously, not like the greats of old, like Shaq. Like that was a month later, and now you're still coming out with guy liked to hookah and he liked to have beers. Like yeah, he's 20 something years old. I'm sure a lot of guys like hookah and beers, but you know what? He's way better than all of them, almost all of them. If you want to, get nitpicky here, like at what point do you just stop and say, "Hey, this does not make us look good"? It sure seems like they're trying to make this as worse as possible so that they can go and move to Vegas with their new ownership and say, "We really wanted to stay, but I don't know. The fans weren't behind us. They didn't want to, build a new arena for us, with taxpayer dollars. So we would have loved to stay, but I don't know. I don't know why they could have been so mad at us."
Do you really think that was the easiest way to get a team though? We'll buy a team and we'll move them? Like this just seems like the most outrageous plan ever. Like even if this ends up being a financially advantage for them, it couldn't be the easiest way to make that money. Like it's just it's insane.
It seems like it would have been easier, and obviously these teams don't go on sale very often. But to get a team from one of the smaller cities or one of the cities that has had less success, Dallas is in the finals last year. They had the Dirk years that is not that long ago, a major market. I'm just, it seems crazy to me. It seems like expansion is going to happen. It seems like it's going to be Vegas and that it's going to be possibly Seattle. I don't know how expansion happens if this Dallas team wants to move, unless it's a that the Mavericks move to Vegas and then another team comes and immediately goes to Dallas because, like, hey, this is a major market that loves basketball, but you decide to trade a generational talent and be a jerk about it.
It's not even the rudeness and the stupidity of it. It is that they had a large window with Luca. You might not even liked it. All right, I can handle that argument, but it was a long window of opportunities to do something, of which you already got to the finals last year with a team that honestly could be improved on a whole lot. And I thought they did some good things this year. And now they traded that away for an older player. They shrunk the window. And now that player's already hurt in Anthony Davis, and the player that you kept instead of Luca is not nearly as safe a bet in Kyrie Irving, who now just tore an ACL. I don't know how you get out of all this. It's intriguing to
And
hear you say.
Kyrie is older. I'm not saying he can't come back, but just at this age, you miss a year, and it's almost going to be a year and a half. It's, and he's a guard. He's not a huge guard. So you lose a little bit of that explosiveness, and it makes things way harder.
Well, it's just funny that they didn't make a rebuilding move because they got no draft picks in all of this, and now they are in a rebuild, involuntarily rebuild. Are they not? This is it, right? Kyrie's going to be out next year. How many games does Anthony Davis play the rest of the year? 0, right? Not coming back. Not going to even touch the floor. So they're out. This is done this year. Kyrie's going to be out all of next year.
They do own their own pick.
We've seen this team tank at the end of the season already before. Won't be the first time.
Yeah.
This is it. So this is over. So now that you wanted to argue that this trade was, for the defense and that there was no long-term advantage of all this, you are now in an involuntary rebuild. And you have no draft picks. And you have no pieces you can move. Because nobody's going to give anything for AD or Kyrie anymore. Like, they're not tradable. I don't know how you pulled this off. So
they are 4 games ahead of the Portland Trailblazers right now.
Yeah. They're going to be in the lottery.
Yes, those Portland Trailblazers.
Also, they're going to be in the lottery next year, and their season tickets are going to be going up 8.6%, of which that's not only the most ridiculous part, is that they actually said why they were doing it. It's the increases are going to reflect ongoing investments in the team and fan engagement. That's all it said.
It sure seems like they're doing the opposite of that.
I think
I should get a discount if I was a Dallas owner. If this is what you did, like, I need the discount part of this. No, you bring Luca in and you get to charge me more, not the other way around.
All right, we're running out of time, so let's just quickly go through some quick topics in the NFL here. The electric measurement system is coming full-time to the NFL. That's exciting, I think. Are we going to increase the speed of all this? Are we going to increase the accuracy with all this? What is the exciting part of this?
I think it should be better. It seems like they've held out on this a long time, and I don't know if that's because they've been waiting to make sure they got it all right, or if it's they've done this and people have been clamoring for this for so long that now they have to finally do it. It is sure going to be interesting when we can all see with our eyes where the ball was and that the electric system puts it somewhere else. The robot wars are not far away. Look out.
I think it'll be good. I think we'll have some weird things here and there, but I also think it'll be some improvements on things. We'll just have a little bit more accuracy. I hope. I don't entirely understand how they're going to be doing this. Are there still going to be people holding chains? They're just going to be digital now?
They'll have the backup. They'll still have the chain gang as a just in case for now.
Well, part of me is wondering. I never played football, but I know the sideline of the chain is the down markers kind of important. So, like, if you just removed those guys, it's like, well, how do I know? I guess you got screens in the NFL, but like I just know traditionally in football, that's kind of where your eyes are looking.
It's very visual, yeah.
All right, other NFL news. Looks like Matthew Stafford doesn't like skiing and is going to be staying in LA. That's breaking news.
I did not know about the skiing part, but yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good for the Rams. I think that they had injuries this year. I think it's worth it for them to run it back.
You didn't hear about his ski trip with Brady?
I did sort of hear about that they were both at like a rich guy ski area, and
it didn't work.
I didn't think that this meant that he didn't like skiing. He might still like skiing. Maybe he just doesn't like the Raiders.
That's probably fair. Maybe I should have quoted it that way. Yeah, that's
I
probably
didn't
the
even
better
know he'd be
headline.
allowed to go skiing.
He's probably not. But Tom Brady could
Maybe he's just
talk.
at a ski resort.
You don't think Tom Brady could talk you into anything? Obviously not.
Obviously not.
Real NFL news: Debo got traded to the Commanders. I think this is kind of a big deal, and I think this is a really interesting piece to add here. We already
You
got.
think Debo going to the Commanders is bigger news than Matthew Stafford re-signing with the Rams?
Yeah.
You know that Stafford plays quarterback and Debo is a wide receiver, right?
All right. Well, why do you think Stafford staying is such a big deal? I mean, this is a team that struggled last year. They had a little bit of a heater on the end of the year, but it really wasn't a good team. You want to
I
run it
think it was
back?
only because they had the injuries.
Is it though? Because they
Cup
had
was hurt
everybody for a
a
lot of
bunch.
these.
I think it's very similar to how the 49ers were struggling this year. That their skill position players, there was injuries. And I think once you get them all back, that I think it's going to be good.
I agree with all that, and that the Niners had trapped themselves by having so many good players, and the Ayuk thing last year screwed them even more because he does the holdout. They give him the money, he gets injured, nobody wins. Now Debo has been kind of a moving part for them, especially injury wise. Just not.
Seemed like he wanted out for a while now.
It just seemed like the Niners couldn't have brought this entire roster back again next year. So like I understand all that, but like on the Commander's side, if he is able to be healthy, I like playing around with this sort of guy where you have good running backs and you have good receivers and you got kind of a utility guy in Debo that's going to do a little bit of everything. I just see a team that's got a young quarterback, bright future, had a lot of success last year, adding more weapons. Is that nice? Isn't that nice? Do you not want to give Drake May weapons?
No, I think it is. I think it's good for Jaden. Just it was the segue where it was
Oh,
like we were
all right.
talk about something, like the Stafford thing just didn't have any merit at all.
Well,
Where I think these are much closer to being in the same category.
Zach, he wasn't going to leave. All right. This guy had already spent enough time in Detroit. Why was he suddenly going to be like, you know what? I really miss the days in Detroit where my games just didn't matter and I made a lot of money. Like, why would he just, it's such a shift in who he's been the last couple
Cash
of years.
money.
That's big money, man. I don't think he even wants the money that bad. He's got to move to New York. He's got to leave LA.
That's why you got to bring the cash in.
Yeah. Last NFL news here. I don't want any confusion. The superiority of these players right now. Much lower on the bottom of the list. Devontae Adams has been released by the Jets. So just to clarify any confusion with you here, he's going to go where? Because Rodgers is going to go where? So I don't think this is suddenly just a tag team with Rodgers right now. I don't know where he's going to end up. Is there any interest in this? Like what has he got left?
You don't think he's got anything left? I think he's got stuff left. How old do you think he is?
Well, you play a year with Rodgers and suddenly it just adds 10 years. I don't know, 31?
He's 32. Debo is 29. So 3 years at that mark. At least a little bit of the research that I did, this seemed to be much more of a financial situation than necessarily an ability. Where the way his contract was set up, I think it was close to 30 million, and it was kind of just known like no one's going to pay for that. The Jets, especially with them moving on from Rodgers, probably in a bit of a rebuilding where you release him, he's going to sign somewhere else for cheaper, and he'll get to choose where he wants to be. So I think this is going to be good for both sides.
Where do you want him to go then? Just up the road, New England?
I don't know if we're quite ready for that. You think we're ready for that?
I think we're ready for that. I think he's ready for that.
I don't know. I don't know if we want to put that on Drake.
All right, well then what is the safe pick for him then? Is it just the obvious? Baltimore, Kansas City, Cincinnati intriguing at least?
Yes, I just don't know if any of those teams are going to be able to afford him. I think it might have to be a little bit lower down.
All right, so is this the
And maybe
likelihood?
that is New England at this point. I think it's almost like it's got to be somewhere in between there.
This isn't a Pittsburgh move, right? Because they got to give him money. Like, is the market dropped? Like, that's how you know the market's dropped. If Pittsburgh's something like, oh, that's it? Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's do this. Done.
Yeah, well, yeah. Huh. Yeah, I don't think the Steelers will pony up the money for him. I think they're so good at drafting wide receivers, they'd rather just make an attempt on a young guy.
That's it for the NFL. Let's talk a quick college football story here where apparently Hard Knocks struggled and couldn't find an NFL team to do their Hard Knocks show in the offseason with, to the point where they're jumping to college football. And of all of the teams they could pick, they're going with Belichick and UNC. I don't know how to believe any of this. This is an alternate universe that I don't think I could have predicted 10 years ago and imagined ever happening ever. It still doesn't even add up to me. How is Belichick going to handle these cameras, and how are these kids going to enjoy watching Belichick just treat them like shit in front of all these cameras?
Well, the reason that you can't believe it is because it's already been debunked. It's not happening.
Oh, bummer.
Yep. Yeah. So the news came out that UNC Belichick was going to be on the Hard Knocks offseason college edition. That was a few days ago. And yes, already news has come out. Yeah, the deal fell through. They couldn't figure it out. Now, based on the reporting, it kind of makes me wonder if it was even in the mix or if it just seemed like a lot more fun, and so it got the headline.
There's no way Bill agreed to this, right? Like, isn't that, or at least there's got to be things he was like, I want at least this, and he's basically like saying you can't do the show you normally do, and that's not going to work for the show because they want to do that. I just imagine the amount of problems he would have had with this. I just can't. I can't see him be on TV for this.
It would be interesting. Yeah, didn't have to do this before, but is it is it that it's going to have to go to college? Like, is that the crazy part, or it's because the Giants and the Saquon Barkley situation was so bad that every other team said absolutely no way, not this year. We're not letting you in because we have to be at least filming right now because it was before the combine. The combine's going to be this week, so everybody must have said no. I don't know how it's not part of the more normal Hard Knocks where the NFL can force a team. I thought it was decent television, but wow, it totally makes sense of watching it at the time, thinking this doesn't seem good, and then the way it turns out, and then also the news today: Saquon Barkley signed a 2-year extension, is going to be the highest paid running back in NFL history. So I think we kind of know how this all turned out, but just amazing that this was so bad. You're forcing Hard Knocks to go to college.
Well, who benefits from Hard Knocks? All right, the fan base gets to watch an
Yeah,
inside track, right? This doesn't
yeah.
help the organization. This doesn't help the players. Nobody generates money out of all this other than the network that's showing
I
it.
don't.
Like,
I don't think that's true. I think it helps the players out. It gets them attention they wouldn't normally get.
maybe, but I think there's just so many ways you can get attention these days that you don't need a Hard Knocks. You want attention.
I
You do a podcast, you do a YouTube channel, you go do interviews every week for the rest of your life. You'll find a podcast to do every week. Trust me. It's just not that hard.
I agree that it doesn't have the same cultural footprint that it did a decade ago.
It can't. And now I feel like if anyone wants to be on the show, this is going to turn into, well, I'm going to do it only if I can look like this, or I'm going to be on the show only if it could be this. I think there's too much power in that as well. But I don't want to spend too much time about this. That's an off-season topic here. We're over an hour right now. We're going to close it all out with a new boxing league that I don't know anything about, and you wanted to present on the show. What do we got? I have no idea about this.
It's combination, the UFC, WWE owners, they're close to a deal, a new boxing league with Saudi Arabia. So I think if we learned anything from Live Golf, that there's going to be a lot of money attached to this.
Is that bad? I,
Well, Saudi Arabia, they have some civil rights issues. I think if you look at it more from their end, they say, well, the United States has some rights issues. So I think it's depending on what side you're looking at. I think I think we all like to think that the America is a good place to be, but I think unfortunately, if you have enough money, you can get away with stuff and you can pay for sports like they did with golf, and now it looks like they're looking to get into boxing.
all right, but what if it's
We're
better?
looking at a report of a $2.8 billion situation.
What if it just leads to a better product? Because I can't say I'm the biggest UFC follower, but I know I've watched more UFC fights than boxing fights, like easily. It's not even close. Now, when we were doing the pandemic, we did some like classic rewatch. We didn't watch UFC. We watched old boxing. So like I don't know how we can get back to that. It hasn't ever been like that in my lifetime. Certainly growing up, I remember my parents getting like pay-per-view and that kind of thing, but like that's not the world I live in anymore. So like if boxing wants to be any closer to what it kind of used to be, is it not just going to need a huge ton of money just thrown at the massive pay-per-view again? So I don't love where boxing's at. Floyd money hasn't been a thing, and then even that best fight that we wanted with was it Manny Pacquiao. We didn't get that till 10 years later. So maybe we need someone else to run the show here. Is all I'm saying. Just as an outsider trying to watch a good fight.
I think that is one of the advantages that UFC has, and for sure WWE has. I don't think they're necessarily going that way. I think it's just more that they're the same company now. Is Dana White says, you guys are fighting. There's no, we're going to wait. And it's just each group's decision. And when they get their act together, and I mean, there's all different belts and titles. It's, with UFC, it's much more streamlined. And I think that would help for if you're looking to get more of the casual fan.
Well, I'm just a little exhausted with the celebrity Logan Paul fight, which it seems like the only boxing fight we ever put any attention to. And then everybody watches it, and it's terrible and it's awful because it's not a real boxer. It's not the same fighter.
It's a celebrity.
And that's,
yes.
I think we want to see his face get smashed in, but he's not lining up fights that he's going to get his face smashed in because he's going to make more money with more fights. So there's a business side to all of this. And I just wish that there was enough money to convince actual good fighters to get in the ring with each other. And maybe this will do that. So I hold out for that maybe boxing can
money
be exciting.
Usually works in these situations.
Yeah. I don't really know where else to go with this. It's just, and then inevitably we'll just buy this back once it ends up being a huge success, and Saudi Arabia will make even more money. So that's congratulations, everybody. We just cost all of us a ton of money because we couldn't figure out boxing for 30 years. Great. Yeah, no, nobody has anyone to blame other than themselves for this, right? This isn't like Saudi Arabia stole a successful business. They're trying to revive anything. But I don't know. I can't say I'm a huge fan of this. I probably don't know enough about the background of all this to be talking as openly of all that. But purely from an entertainment standpoint, I feel like that's pretty accurate of describing how it's been the last couple of decades here. All right.
At least.
Remind everyone to subscribe. Little Column A, Little Column B, podcast. You can follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
And what is everyone going to sign up for this week? And where's it going to be, Zach?
You are going to sign up for the Yahoo picks, and you are going to find it in the description of this podcast.
How much is entry?
Entry is free. It is $3, and you could win $150 as well as an exclusive podcast t-shirt.
Wow, we're not going to do any better than that. Anything else for the people out there? We got a minute.
We didn't mention it all the way, but Lakers coming to play the Celtics. I am excited to see Luka in person again.
I didn't want to bring up the Lakers, but they are 2 seed, and before it was kind of like maybe Luka gets healthy and they're in the playing game. It's still they're a 2 seed now. This is a
they're
real
a 2 seed now.
This is a real threat. This is a disaster for Dallas. Just pile it all on. It's terrible. Yeah, no, it's good, and they're good, and he's good, and who would have thought that wouldn't have worked? What morons thought this is something we're all going to regret? Oh man, yeah, I'm excited for the game. I just can't believe that this is what's happened to the Lakers again. It's unbelievable. I really just can't even believe it. It's a perfect scenario for them. But hopefully it'll be a good scenario for us, and we'll talk all about that next week, as well as some more college basketball. Duke, do you guys play this week, or is it still bye weeks?
We play at UNC. I already told you.
No, that's right. Just want to make sure they have
totally a real game.
Totally real.
Get ready. I'm not looking past them.
This is as much time as they're getting next week too.
Little column A, little column B.